Um, well, welcome everybody. I mean, just like to welcome our special guests here, Scout O'Reilly and Mary Eisnagel, who are here from Little Fork to talk to us about a so this should be very interesting today. But before we get started here, we're going to start, of course, with our invocation. And Vic has graciously volunteered to lead us with the invocation. If everybody stand for that, please.
Our Father in heaven, we come before you very to be a Rotary Club. We're thankful for a new year. We're very grateful to you for the freedoms we have in this country, and we still do. Grateful that we can still pray to you and address you as the supreme creator and omnipotent personage in this universe. So we thank you for the club. We ask your inspiration on Alan as we go through this year. We're thankful for the members we have here and also for those online. So we ask to turn this meeting over to your hands. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, if you remain standing, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So once again, welcome everybody. For those who were not at the Pass the Gavel, you missed a pretty nice party. I know people had great reasons. Harry was your anniversary. Yeah, it's great. Down in Florida, I guess, is that right? In Gatlinburg. Okay, great. And of course, Ed was missing. He was stuck in traffic, I think, on I-275, but definitely missed you guys. But it was a lot of fun. We passed the gavel from Seth to myself. So big shoes to fill, and I'm really looking forward to leading this club forward this next year. We don't have any Student of the Month today. We do have a pretty good group of people here on Zoom. We've got several folks here. We got Mike and Don. Aaron, of course, is manning the technical here. See Robin here. And we've got Nicole. She's kind of like the puppet master.
I'm signed in as Nicole. We don't have Nicole.
Oh, we got no Nicole today. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and proceed here. A couple of the things that we're doing a little bit differently this year, as you may have noticed, they split the pot. When you come in the morning, we're going to ask everybody to draw at least one card, throw $1 in the pot. If you didn't bring $1, just throw an IOU in there, and we're going to trust you that you're going to pay it later on. But this would be a good way for us to continue raising funds for charitable causes, and kind of a fun way for us to participate in the meeting. Everybody likes to be a winner, so hopefully somebody will win every week. We'll see how that goes, but we'll do the drawing here towards the end of the meeting. We also are going from the hot breakfast to just donuts and coffee. We'll see how that goes with everybody. But when I called around to the folks during the past couple of months, it seems like people were more interested in primarily coffee. And so bring your mug along. We also have cups there. We'll see how the pastries go, see what pastries people like to have. But hopefully that'll go over and people will enjoy that little change here. I don't think I see Peter Weiglin. Is Peter on today or not? He's not. My gosh. Okay. We're going to recognize.
I think the after holiday kind of confuses some people.
Is that right? Okay. So.
Not us working people, but retired people.
All righty. Okay. As I mentioned, we don't have Student of the Month for our guests here. Mary, of course, is in the East Side Rotary, and I've neglected to mention that, our sister club here, and we're looking forward to cooperating with them with a bunch of different fundraisers, hopefully going forward. They're hopefully going to be in our golf outing. We're going to be supporting Little Fork, and we'll be doing other things going forward with our partners over there at East Side Rotary. But we do have Student of the Month, and that is typically going on during the school year, obviously, so we have a little bit of an impasse in the summertime. What I'd like to do right now is just highlight our wedding anniversaries. And let me go ahead and look through our list here. Just one second. So we've got wedding anniversaries, we've got Rotary anniversaries, and we've got birthdays, of course. So, okay, just a second here. You know, it's funny, technology, all of a sudden it's kind of failing me here. Okay, we already talked about Harry with his wedding anniversary. I think we had Mike Essig, if I'm not mistaken. Don't you have a wedding anniversary anytime soon, or?
It was last month, June 18th.
Last month, yeah.
They talked about it one of the last meetings. But
Okay, very good. So we'll shout out to you. There were a number of people that had him in June. Of course, Seth had a wedding anniversary in early June, I think it was, right? Yeah. And I think Robin Hakes also. Did you just recently have a wedding anniversary, Robin?
Yes, on June 24th.
Okay, let's see, I remember this now. Okay, very good.
I have one July the 19th.
That's coming up, Mary Jane. Just quit preempting me, okay?
That's me, you know.
Okay, all right, good.
My husband is the luckiest man. He'll be married 52 years.
52.
And he's been happy 3.
Okay.
Yeah, a day here and a day there.
Aaron, did you happen to have the birthday piece?
I have birthdays up.
Oh, you do? Okay. I have the birthdays, but do we have the link? Do we have the, okay, we're going to have Tony sing the happy birthday. And I sent the link to, yeah. Can I email that to you? Yeah, let me do that real quick here. We do have a couple of birthdays, and that would be for Mac and for Amanda. Okay, Amanda just celebrated on July 3rd, and let me send this to you, Seth. Hopefully we can pull this up pretty quick here. All right, it is coming to you now under B-Day. All right. Okay, Seth, you should have that here in just a second. All right. While we're doing that, Ed, would you like to come up and do Happy Bucks for us, if you don't mind? Okay, and we'll do the birthday celebration here in just a second. You can do it right there if you like. That's fine. Yeah.
And welcome to Rotary. And I'd like to, first of all, thank Mary Jane for staying up all night and fixing this breakfast. We really appreciate it. Did a great job. And what are we doing here? Oh, okay. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have a joke today. I went back in my joke catalog, and nothing much funny's happened this last year, and I just couldn't come up with anything that was worthy of Rotary. But I did read a really inspirational story yesterday, I thought, and many of you who read it hopefully thought so too. And it was by Paul Doherty of the Enquirer and front page, and I know a lot of people don't get the paper anymore, but he featured a couple from Venezuela who came over just recently to get out of the mess that is Venezuela currently. And, you know, I'm like a lot of people, I get very down, and it's hard to get me down. I get down about what's going on in our country and the people just, you know, not getting along and divided. And it seems like it's going the wrong direction and there's no turning it around. But the story was just really, really made me feel good about our country. These people had 2 children. One of them obviously was a good baseball player because he was from Venezuela, and came over here, played for the Reds. Don't recall what exactly happened, but he couldn't play any longer. But the Reds were so impressed with him that they offered him a job in their very entry-level league in Arizona, where the players start, and he's an instructor there. In the meantime, he got a house, he got married. He was telling his father and mother-in-law about the plight of his parents back in Venezuela. And they just jumped through every hoop they could to get them over here, along with his 18-year-old brother. And they interviewed the parents, and it was very, very difficult what they had to go through to get to the United States, and left everything behind, brought their suitcases, left their house, their cars, all their belongings. And they now are living in America. He has a job at Over the Rhine making sandwiches. She has a job as a nanny. And what they did in Venezuela, he was an OB-GYN and she was an attorney. And they feel like they're in paradise now, even leaving all that behind. They feel like they're living in paradise now with the jobs they have and the opportunities they have here in this country. And I just thought that was, you know, it kind of woke me up, put things in perspective. We do need to turn a lot of things around in our country, but got a lot of good things going still, obviously. So for Happy Bucks, got a Happy Buck for Mary Jane. There's something about the number 3. Married for 52 years and happy 3. She retired and 3 days later went back to work. I don't know if many of you are aware of that. Also a self-imposed fine for missing the party, and I feel horrible and I'm really disappointed I missed it. I heard I had a training session from 10 to 4:30 that day I had to take part in. Got held up there, got on 275, and the rest is history. And I got home like at 7:30. And then just for Seth for his year, and Alan, I'm just so excited about Alan's year coming up. There's a lot of enthusiasm right now in our club. So Alan, good luck. Okay, who else is happy?
You know, I'm very happy that Rotary is still in business, has been in business, and I'm looking really good to have everybody here in person. So everybody on Zoom, we're open. Come on in if possible.
Hey, you do look good, Len. Mary Jane.
You can't hear me, so I'll come to the mic. I am.
I know.
This is for our new president, and I can rip it in half, and the other half's for our old president. And this is for our guests. Welcome. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And this is for my husband, and may he enjoy 3 more years of marriage.
All right, St. Jim.
St. Jim. Right.
Michael.
Alan, congratulations. And Seth, thank you for a great year, particularly a rough year during everything else, and for our guests today.
Thank you. And Harry.
Happy birthday, America.
Hey, all right. Okay, and Seth.
This is for Alan and our guests.
Okay,
I don't have cash, so I'll do the PayPal
okay.
online, but, yeah, send me a bill. And then since you didn't have a joke, I figure I have one.
Oh,
today.
good,
So,
good.
So how do you know when a joke is a dad joke? Dad, which are synonymous. Really. When it becomes apparent.
Oh.
Yeah,
Now I know what a bad jerk.
Thank you.
I'll give some happy bucks here. For Seth, really got to do a great transition. For everybody in the club, just, the board, all the members, all the great ideas that we have, and for our speakers. Really happy to be here. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask Shane, put him on the spot.
Well, can Tony hear us up there? I see Tony's face, but I don't know if he's moved.
That's a video of him singing.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay. I didn't know if I know he's out of town, but I'll give you a brief update on where we stand. There's a lot of kind of open items. There was an email that Tony sent out asking for people to help with registration, and I think some people have responded. I don't know exactly who did that yet, but that's, we've had some people leave the club or move on to a different club, so it's kind of created a challenge for us as we're getting everything set up. But I think we're there. I feel comfortable with where we are. The brochure, I think, is finally complete. we'll get that disseminated out to the group so that you can start helping wrangle up people to get signed up for the club outing on the 15th of September. We've decided to move it to a morning start. So we're gonna, I think tea time is 9 o'clock is what we're gonna do, a shotgun start at 9 a.m., which it'll take kind of the 2 meals out of it too. So that'll help us a little bit. So we'll start probably registration around 7:30 or 8. And it looks like you can cook too, since you did such a great job with the coffee, donuts, maybe Bloody Mary, screwdrivers. And then afterwards, we'll probably finish around 1 o'clock, between 1 and 1:30. And then we'll go ahead and have the awards banquet early in the afternoon so that it'll be a lunch, and then everybody can get back on to whatever they need to do later on in the day. So we're excited about that. I don't think there are any other items. Alan, did you have any questions specifically that I haven't touched on? Got the date, got the time. We will be asking for more volunteers. Yeah, the brochure, and I'll, I guess I'll send that out. I mean, I have it already, so I can send it to the distribution list. Brandon's on vacation. So I think he gets back on the 16th or something is what I saw. So once he's back from vacation, he and his wife can work on getting the registration website updated. I saw some email traffic over the weekend. It looks like you can still kind of register, I think, but we'll make sure that all that's ironed out. But 2 months away, so we're excited about it. July, August. Yeah, we'll be really probably. I'm not as worried about the committees as I am about wrangling up, getting some people to be whole sponsors and some opportunities for donations. So work your network so that we can make this a successful event, which I have no doubt it will be. Thanks.
What was the date?
September 15th. No problem.
Is your mic on, Alan? I can't hear you.
Okay. So at any rate, Mac, I was just talking about Tony's going to be singing happy birthday for us here. So we'll put that on. And while he's doing that, I got to talk to. Who are we singing happy birthday? This is for Aaron and for Mac. Okay. So, excuse me, Amanda and Mac. Okay. So go ahead.
We need some audio here.
I think that's the best it's ever
We don't have it, but they do.
He looks good.
Why?
I remember when I was flying.
I mean, they're hearing it fine.
Well, we can read it. Right there.
You don't look as good as Tony, but I bet you sound better.
Well, Tony, this is Mac. Thank you. I look forward to doing this once again with you. I appreciate it. I made it this morning as far as Sheepsley's Automotive. They did some work last week and I drove this morning and the car wasn't going to make it to Batavia. So hopefully it'll be a quick fix and they open in a few minutes. I'll see if they can fix it real quick and I'll get there for the board meeting. If not, I'll stay on here.
Yeah, that's the video. Hopefully we can play it. Okay. Is it good, you think?
Should be able to. I don't know if we'll be able to hear it, but.
All right. Okay, we're going to try one more technical thing here. When I was flying, we always used to say you had to pre-flight your nav aids, okay? And you got to pre-flight your visual aids too. So I've made that error here already. I should have actually checked those out. You're not getting fired. Yeah. Darn it! I thought I could get out of this. But see, Len saved me there, and I appreciate that. One of the other things I was just going to bring up here is the Rotary Foundation, and I think you all are familiar with that. I'm just going to put a little plug in for it here. What I'd like to do, in the past, we've always had what we called a Rotary Minute, and we've done that various ways. I'd like to do a Rotary minute and a half today, and hopefully this video is going to work here. If you want to go ahead and bring it up, Aaron.
They're hearing me. Why that's it.
All right, I think all right. Let me just the other thing I'll say is the Rotary Foundation, you all are probably familiar with. Peter Weiglin is our chair for the foundation. It is our charitable organization at Rotary. And the main point that I would like to make about it is we have this achievement level, the Paul Harris Fellowship. I've got my little pin on here. A number of us are Paul Harris Fellows. And Paul Harris obviously was the founder of Rotary. To become a Paul Harris Fellow, you have to contribute $1,000 a year. And what I did just recently, I'm just going to bring this out. It's not an original idea, but I just looked at the charities that I contribute to. And I went ahead and decided I'm giving this amount to Rotary, but maybe I'll take a little bit off the table from these other charities because I've got some overlap, okay? And that way I was able to up my contribution to about $80 a month. And I was just going to show, just throw that out there as a possible alternative for folks. The reason this is important is, and we'll look at these videos as we go through the Rotary year, these charities, as Peter mentioned at the Pass the Gavel, are really important. I mean, they're supporting traumatic kids, they're supporting women's initiatives, they're supporting all sorts of charities in the world. And Rotary just brings a lot of clout to all of these initiatives. And so I just think it's really important that we support it, and I'd encourage you to kind of look at that yourselves. Okay, so now without any further ado, what I'd like to do is just kind of introduce Scott here. Scott O'Reilly is the founder of this charity called Little Fork, okay? And he's going to explain that to us. He has an extensive background as a district attorney. He was a district attorney, and I think still is, but in Brown County, he was, or in Claremont County, he was DA for 11 years. Has very personal experience with a couple of friends who were murdered, actually, when they were in college. And that was an impetus for him to get involved with children's and the initial or the traumatized conditions of youth in our society. And so he's taken this to heart. And me as a CASA, as I think a lot of you know, a court-appointed special advocate, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. And Scott and I talked extensively the other day about how important it is to more efficiently address these needs of not only the kids, but the families themselves that are traumatized and that circle of violence and traumatization. And so what Little Fork does is what he's going to talk about here. They're going to bring all of these initiatives, all of these agencies together under one roof out where Shane works at Claremont Mercy. So without any further ado, I'd like Scott to come up here and give us a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for having me. I always look forward to every opportunity I can to talk about Little Fork. It has been something that's been near and dear to my heart for a very long time now. I actually was with Claremont County for 20 years until January 3rd of this year. So my background has always been as a prosecuting attorney. I probably spent over 10 years as kind of the head supervisor of child abuse cases and sexual assault cases, which really led to the impetus of what Little Fork stands for. So as my career went on, as I tried more terrible cases that dealt with kids and families who were really traumatized, I realized one significant issue just kind of permeated through all of them. We would take the bad guy usually away. We would get rid of him, put him in prison for long periods of time, maybe forever. But the families were left in utter dysfunction. And those were just the kids and the families that were touched by physical and sexual violence. And I can remember and recall one specific story. I've tried cases all over Southwest Ohio, but we had kind of gotten close, myself and one of my colleagues, close to a family out in Adams County. And for any of you who have been out to Adams County, and this is also another reason for Little Fork, it's just the geographic barriers from the eastern corridor. Adams County is not Hamilton County. If you go down to Manchester and you see the families that live along the river and live in the hills around Manchester, it's not Hamilton County. And we would routinely meet this family and this particular child at their house. And after we sent mom's boyfriend away for 3 life sentences, my friend Dan and I drove out of town and said, what's going to happen to this kid? What is going to happen to this kid? Because he's still been raped and abused for years. And now we're leaving town and we've said our goodbyes and see you later. And we just hope that what's going to happen to that kid is going to be good. Unfortunately and empirically, we know that that's not true. Has anyone here ever heard of the term ACEs? Adverse Childhood Experiences. Anyone here ever heard of that term? Heard of it. So what ACEs stands for, and they started studying this in 1998. They've got a kind of 10-question, just little survey. And some of the questions are as simple as, do you come from a divorced family? Did you witness domestic violence? Were you sexually abused? Did you suffer from abuse and neglect? And throughout the course of these 10 questions that all focus on your childhood upbringing, they found empirical data to support that if you have a bad childhood, that's going to permeate throughout the rest of your life if it's not addressed early on. If you have 4 or more ACEs out of those 10, 4 or more ACEs, you have a 68% more likelihood of having diabetes. Your instance or possibility of being involved in the criminal justice system goes up exponentially. Your drug use or the opportunity to use drugs goes up exponentially. It's easy to figure it out. And from a prosecutor standpoint, I saw it. You know, I've seen generations of families now in Claremont County, and trust me, Brown County, they kind of just crossed the county line. You see what's happened. I mean, you've got the child who was offended against who's now using drugs and now committing crimes. So that was kind of the underlying issue that I saw. So in 2013, I got a group, and it's funny, I got to see my friend Tony here. He was not a member of our original group, but Union Township certainly was. We had 3 detectives and myself started this in 2013 with the idea of just kind of focusing on how are we going to look at these cases and how are we going to charge them. I quickly kind of started thinking about all the other issues and said, this isn't enough. Yeah, we can focus on this. We can focus on getting rid of the bad guy, but how do we help these families? And that's when I started building a network of all of the other agencies, including the YWCA, Beach Acres, Child Focus, Cincinnati Children's Hospital, which was one of the foundations that we first focused on. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Mayerson Center. Has anybody ever heard of that? So all of the kids in Claremont, Brown, Adams, Highland right now, they get sent to the Mayerson Center to be seen by a social worker and a doctor if they disclose sexual abuse. Just from a very bare bones geographical issue, that 275 barrier for a lot of folks out here is somewhere they don't want to go. You don't want to send your kids, your family down to Clifton to talk about how mom's boyfriend raped you. The first thing we wanted to do from a Little Fork perspective was bring what Cincinnati Children's does well from the child abuse perspective and put an outpost or a satellite office out here. And that's what we have done through Mercy's help. So Cincinnati Children's Hospital will operate a clinic out of Mercy Hospital for the benefit of children. With all of the other agencies, we also wanted to have them under one roof. That was something else that I realized quite quickly in the nonprofit world is there's a lot of silos. A lot of people and a lot of agencies do a lot of good work. They don't do a lot of good work together. There's always been a level of competition in even government agencies I've seen it, and that's to the detriment of the families and the kids. So that was something that I really wanted to work actively on, was bringing down those silos and getting these folks to work together. We have over 50 agencies that are now affiliated with Little Fork. So the next step was actually to create a physical space. And I bring this part of the story up because I think it's important, and it's personal, but I think it's important to know why, in some respects, this has taken 8 years to get to the point where we are today. In 2014, I have 3 kids of my own. My wife was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer. It's called, it's a liver cancer. And unfortunately, she passed away in January 2016. I still wanted to keep Little Fork going at the time. I talked to actually one of our board members who's also a close friend. It was like, look, you can't do this. All 3 of my kids were under 3 at the time. So we put kind of the Little Fork mission on pause. But it did teach me a lot. It also taught me a lot about trauma in another way. And I just have spoken about this recently. We had a Little Fork event a couple weeks ago. My son, who's 10 now, and he plays a lot of sports. And actually, that's the last time I saw Tony was at a basketball tournament. But he's got a lot of anger. And I have a great supportive family. We're not destitute. We're not in poverty. So I have a huge support system. And my son struggles with the trauma of the loss of his mother. And I can tell you how difficult it was just to get somebody at the school to talk to him. It took me about 10 phone calls and doing that repeatedly just to find some help for him. And again, I come up from a family and a position that enables me to do that. It just made me rethink of all of the issues that these other kids and these other families have to go to. And as a group, as a government, as a society, we fail kids repeatedly. We just don't look at what happens with the negative impact that they have in that family system. So it taught me a lot about how difficult trauma is, even when you're coming from a position in a family, regardless of wealth or poverty, just that trauma that the kids experience, that you really got to get your hands on it, because it's something that I can see firsthand just as a father, as I've seen it in the court system as a prosecutor. So that brings us kind of fast forward to where we are now. After Emily died, I waited about 6 to 9 months, picked up the phone one day and called Mike Green and said, Mike, I'm ready. We're going to make this happen. I don't care how we make it happen. I've had people tell me that this is a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. I said, it doesn't matter. We're going to do it. So we started organizing a group of people that actually had some good business experience, that started being able to help me where I was deficient. It enabled us collectively, and that's really where this is. This idea may have started with me, but it's so much bigger than anything I could have ever thought of. I mean, we have such a great group on our board, and a great collection of people who are now committed to making this a reality. And bring Shane in. It's probably been about a year, 18 months now, where Mercy said, well, how can we get involved in this? And we started talking about, okay, well, we want to build a building. We've got architects. We've got to get all the 501c3 requirements done, but we've got some good plans, and here's an idea, and let's get it on paper and let's get moving towards it. And then COVID hit, which forced us to kind of reanalyze how we were going to do it. Didn't make a lot of sense to try to raise $7 million last year when, you get 40% of the country that wasn't working, and just didn't seem like the right time to do that. So we kind of reanalyzed and said, well, what if we could go somewhere and maybe lease space, just get a clinic open? That's where Mercy stepped in. And although Mercy and Children's aren't working directly together on this because they're working through Little Fork, and I think that's a special relationship where you see two hospital systems that are completely different from one another, who identify that family trauma is such an issue that they can collaborate on a project like this. Where you've got the YWCA and Beach Acres and Child Focus all being able to exist under one roof without that level of competition, understanding that collectively, focusing on that family trauma and overcoming is what we have to do. We've now got our 501c3 status. We've signed a lease with Mercy for about 2,000 square feet right next to the emergency room. We will have 6 agencies operating out of there. Now, obviously, we have 40 agencies we're partnered with, and that's a small space for us to start, but it gets us operating. In Brown, Adams, Claremont, and Highland counties currently, and this is a year over year, about 250 to 300 children disclose sexual abuse. All of those kids go down to Clifton right now. Those numbers will now come to Batavia, which just, again, geographically, I can't tell you what a big deal is that is for our area, to tell our families, look, if you're from West Union, you just have to drive to Batavia. You don't have to drive to Clifton. All of those things will be operating under there. Now, from the Little Fork perspective, we'll operate as a case manager. It'll be our job to kind of assess the family needs, assess kind of the long-term needs of that family, identify which agency partner, whether they're residential or non-residential, who they need to go to. And then it's our job to own that family's problem. One of the biggest deficiencies that I've seen over time is people believe that, for example, Children's Protective Services is going to be there for 10 years. They're not. And I ask this of our board members or anybody who's unfamiliar with the system. I say, who do you call if you think that there's child abuse or something going on in the family? I call 241 Kids. I said, you know how long Children's Protective Service on average is involved in a case? I have no idea. About 90 days. Unless they take custody of the kid and there's placement issues, usually that investigation goes on 90 days and then they're done. Obviously, the trauma in a family, whether there's a criminal charge of domestic violence or child abuse or sexual assault, there's a problem in that family. And what we need to do collectively, again, is get involved in those families early on so that that 40-year-old drug user who is abused or around domestic violence as a 9-year-old doesn't turn into that 40-year-old drug abuser and then goes through 8 treatment programs to try to deal with it. That's what Little Fork stands for, is owning that problem and owning it long-term and making sure that we connect those kids and those families with the right services. So just think of us as a network. And my hope is over the years that when any family, regardless of what the underlying issue is out here in the community, they can come to us and we'll make sure that that family gets the right help long-term that they need. And that's really what Little Fork stands for.
You have a website?
We do. It's just, it's Little Fork. It's little, I'll get you the exact, if you type in Little Fork Family Advocacy Center, it will pop up. And we're on Facebook too. So we, again, with our site just opening, I think construction wise, we should be operational in the next 4 to 6 months is what Mike and the other construction folks tell me. We've just started the permit process, which I think is going to take about 30 days. We do have our architect plans, and then we've got, construction that, again, hopefully that'll take 4 to 6 months as long as there's still wood left in the United States somewhere. But so we've been primarily donation funded. Shane doesn't even know this. We've received a couple sizable donations recently. The construction cost just to refurbish the Mercy area is about $300,000. Our longer term plans, obviously that's much more significant, whether we're going to buy a bigger building and retool it or build it outright. Those are discussions that we'll have with the board. We do need bigger space. I mean, that's the reality of it. Child Focus under our original plans had about 2,000 square feet for themselves. So just to give that kind of an idea, I mean, our entire little clinic is 2,000 square feet or slightly under that. And that's really just one of our partners needed that amount of space. So there are grants that we've received as well. A lot of these child advocacy centers that we fit under that context as well. We call ourselves a family advocacy center because we have all these other entities. But from a child advocacy perspective, most of those agencies get half their funding through grants. There's something called the VOCA grant through the state of Ohio, which the Ohio Attorney General dispenses to the, there's actually 23 child advocacy centers throughout the state of Ohio. So we will be grant funded in some capacity. I've always been a little apprehensive about that just because grants come and they go and they're not guaranteed. In fact, the child advocacy center world was shaken last year because 40% of VOCA funding was cut. So all of those entities had to figure out how to make up 40% of their budgets or cut 40% of their budget. So that was not something I wanted to focus on. All of our residential partners pay rent to Little Fork. So kind of the overhead cost, the rent to Mercy, which thankfully they've done a fantastic job of making it quite easy for us to get in there. But the cost is also covered by our residential partners in that context. So.
Just curious about the name. Is there a story behind the name?
So yeah, I get that question a lot too. So yes, when we were trying to figure out what our name was going to be, I got a lot of our partners, I got a lot of police officers involved, and we had about 70 people in a room, and we were trying to come up with a name. And I said, we're going to spend an hour and a half on this, and at the end, we're coming up with a name. We spent an hour and a half on it, and no one came up with a name. People talked about like water, they talked about generation issues, which is why, I mean, our logo has what appears to be a tree. And then that's water kind of running through the tree. So the tree represents the generations of dysfunction or barriers, however you want to characterize it. And the water is kind of the healing properties. Little Fork is, in fact, if you look at a map, it is a creek that runs through Adams and Brown County and flows into East Fork. So it was something that we just identified. It's a Little Fork because of the geography. That's how we came up with it.
For the benefit of the folks online also, Mary is here because the Rotary, as we mentioned, East Side and Batavia want to partner going forward on a number of different worthwhile projects. And on August 13th, East Fork is going to have a dinner over at the Oasis, and they're also going to have a illusionist, or I guess, Mary, you want to talk about
sure,
that?
thank you. So I'm Mary Eisenhower, and I'm with Eastside Rotary, and 18 months ago, literally, we were in the process of having a fundraiser that was going to be a co-fundraiser with Batavia Rotary and the Eastside Rotary. So we've gone through 3 presidents, and I think you guys have gone through 3 presidents since then too. Amazing 18 months, right? So we literally were going to take our stuff and put it in a truck and take it to the Oasis on that Thursday, Wednesday, the 12th, I think it was the 12th of March 12th, we got shut down. So here we are 18 months out, and we're about ready to have the fundraiser for Little Fork. So when Scott contacted me in 2013 and said, I'm thinking about starting this advocacy center, would you want to take part in it? Because I run an organization called Stopping the Abuse Before It Ever Starts, which is a child abuse, drug abuse prevention program that goes into high schools. And he was looking for an educational piece of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get involved with this. And so it was just like a perfect fit to bring it to our Rotary to see if it was a possibility for us to use our fundraiser for this amazing venture that Scott's embarking on. So he came and talked to the Cincinnati Eastside Rotary. After he spoke, they're like, we're in, what do we gotta do? So we decided to use our fundraiser for Little Fork, and that's when I contacted Cliff back then and Sheila, and to ask if you guys would want to take part in it. Of course, they said yes. So here we are, 18 months. The fundraiser is going to now be August 13th, and it's at the Oasis. Registration will start at 5:30, and it's dinner with an illusionist. So Daniel Schaefer, who is he is an illusionist, and he is also a motivational speaker. And he has also written a book because he was also an abused child. So he's written a book related to kind of how he changed his life through becoming this illusionist and what he's done to turn his life around from the abuse that he was in as a child. So when I contacted him looking for some kind of entertainment for the event, and I told him about Little Fork, he said, I'll tell you what, I'll do it for free. And he normally charges about $5,000 a presentation. So that's how moved he was by Scott's story and what Little Fork is all about. So he's doing it for free, and I'm really excited about this. And finally, we are going to do this on August 13th. So I contacted Seth, and then of course now Alan, and asked if you guys would still be willing to help out. And of course he said you guys would. And so we're looking just for some help with volunteers for the event. It's going to take a few people to run this thing. So far, we have 350 people sign up to go who've already got tickets or tables or reservations. And so we're definitely looking for some support from your Rotary to help sell tickets and also maybe to buy some tables. We have tables left. The gold sponsorships and the platinum sponsorships are already taken. They were taken back in March of 18 months ago. So what we've got left is tables and individual seats. So certainly could use your help in selling those. I've shared the link, I believe, a couple of times. So
I'll put it in the minutes.
Perfect.
And it's on our Facebook page and everything.
Thank you so much. So yep, you just go on and click the link and buy your tickets. You can buy tables still, etc. So any questions? Awesome. All right, thank you.
The only other thing I would add, Scott and I talked not only about our financial support through the table that we're going to be sponsoring and maybe another table at the event, but we also talked about how we as Rotarians could maybe help out personally later on, not just financially. Do you want to just give us?
Yeah. So we did have a nice discussion about that. So obviously, transportation for families is a big issue as well. I do hope that in the future we can partner maybe with some local agencies, maybe some dealerships around here, provide some transportation where we can go pick these families up. And that's not just if they're disclosing sexual abuse and bringing them to the Children's Hospital clinic portion of this, but even bringing them to therapy, something like that. I know that they do, Child Focus is doing kind of the Zoom therapy right now. I think there's some benefits and drawbacks to that, but transportation and having people be able to transport families is one aspect that Little Fork could use some help on. Secondly, as I said, we'll have case managers. So there's folks with backgrounds in mental health, social work, social services, where they have a lot of direct contact with families, and it's something that you have a lot of interest in. Again, we're going to be following these families. I think in the first year, we'll touch them 3 times at a minimum, but then we'd like to follow that out even to a decade. So that would include like just maintaining contact with families. So our case managers would continuously reach out. Those are hopefully going to be on volunteer basis and maybe have some supervisors who are staffed and maybe another individual who would be staffed. But that's another opportunity to kind of volunteer your time to take on a family or some families and maintain that contact throughout the course of that child's upbringing. So those are opportunities in the future. Again, we're going to have a lot of, I know we're going to go through a lot of growing pains as we open up and we become operational. So the needs will change, and I'm sure the next 2 years, we come back in 18 months, 24 months, we may have a lot more needs, and I'm sure that is going to happen. So any opportunity to maintain engagement with you all and just let you know kind of what our needs are. Again, this is a direct change to our community. So this is our primary focus areas: Brown, Adams, Claremont, Highland County. So these are going to directly impact the families in your community.
Contact you directly.
Absolutely, and I have plenty of cards to go around. This one has my personal cell phone on it, so I wanted people to be able to contact me whenever they want. It's got our email address, and again, it's got our name, and so if anybody wants these, anytime. And I've got more after this. So.
Scott, we want to thank you very much for coming, and Mary also want to present you with an honorary Rotary mug here.
Oh, thank you very much.
Very much appreciate what you do.
I would be remiss if I did not thank Mary. I don't know how many of you know Mary, but I mean, I don't know many people who work as hard as she does, not only in her own job, but for her community. I mean, just very lucky that the Eastside Rotary has her. You guys should try to trade or whatever you can do.
Hey, before you sit down, we got a little job for you here. Okay, so we're going to, first of all, applause for. All right, he knows how to do it here. So he's going to pull a card, and we're going to see who the big winner is today. Oh, the Queen of Spades. Anybody got that? Spades right here.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay, everybody,
Spades.
when you leave, drop your cards on the table so we can use this deck every week. $10.
Yeah, that's the Scott.
All right. We'll put $10 donation. Give it to me because I don't
My name's Mary, I got
Thank you, Harry, for that donation. Okay. If you all didn't hear that, with the split the pot here, Harry was the first big winner. So let's everybody get back here in person so you have a chance to win, okay? All right. We're going to finish up the meeting here. Yeah, everybody make sure you get your cards back, or Mary Jane will come looking for you, okay? So. All right, we're going to finish up here with two things. We're going to sing a song, all right? And Seth passed out the lyrics. Everybody got a song sheet here. This is real easy. Hopefully you know the tune to This Land Is Your Land, okay? So we'll sing this and we'll do the four-way test after that, okay? All right, everybody ready? This club is your club, this club is my club, from all the officers to every member, and through our membership, we serve society. This club is served by you and me, and from our membership comes worthy enterprise, and through our fellowship, we serve all people, from friendship to community service. This club is served by you and me. This club is your club. This club is my club. From brand new members to the grand old timers. And through our membership, we serve society. This club is served by you and me. Woo. All right, why don't we stand up and we'll face the rear of the room and recite the four-way test. The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Everybody feel their